Yeah.
My name is Craig Highfield. I'm with the Alliance for the Chesapeake Bay. I'm the director of their forest program. We have offices in, we're based out of Annapolis, Maryland, but we have offices in Lancaster, Richmond, and DC. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a program we have called Woodland Stewardship Networks. Okay, so I don't know, I'm sure you haven't heard of the Alliance. No one has, but we're a small organization, but we do work in vast landscapes. So we do rely on partnerships. So everything that we do, we collaborate with people. So we get a lot of grant money. So we're always applying for money to do this work. We work a lot on private lands, but nothing we could do, we can't do without partners. So partners in this, Maryland Forest Service, the Pennsylvania Bureau of Forestry, Virginia Department of Forestry, NRCS to get these going. But what a stewardship, okay. So what a stewardship network is just a network of woodland owners. So we did a lot of outreach. I've been doing this for a long time now. We did a lot of outreach to woodland owners to try to encourage them to manage their private lands for the public good and to reach their goals. But a lot of times our events, people would come in, we teach them about stuff. We have great speakers. They get out to their own properties. They do the stuff. But we're figuring, well, rather than have them come to us, what if we went to them? And we started looking at a landscape rather than individual parcels spread out. So, we tried this back in 2012 in Baltimore County, Maryland, where we looked at a forest patch rather than in, the individual parcels. We said, where do we want to work? We look at it, and then most forested landscapes are owned by many, many, many people. So if we could kind of work across that landscape, could we have a bigger impact on that forest landscape? Could we bring maybe the cost of management down a little bit if we get people coordinating together? So we did try it. The first thing we did, we went out and we had one forester do kind of a forest health assessment, so we didn't scare people away with the management plan on that landscape. And we brought it to them and said, this is the health of this forested landscape broken down by forest stands. I wish I would say this was a raging success. And it kind of wasn't, but we learned a lot from this. So we kind of took this idea, this concept. We did get people managing their forest, but they kind of weren't working together so much across that landscape. So we took this program up into Pennsylvania, where we saw a real need. There are vast forested landscapes up there. Not a lot of people have forest management plans up there. They're harder to get. Bureau of Forestry doesn't write them on private lands like they do in Maryland. But the idea is, the concept that we wanted is, we wanted the landowners to kind of work together, use one forester to write a management plan across this forested landscape, and then kind of coordinate their management. So it wasn't like we were pooling resources. We weren't combining lands. We just wanted to try to coordinate action at the same time. And then the last thing we wanted to do is get these forest management plans and then incentivize action. So we brought a little grant money so people would start doing things off their management plans. So some of the recommendations, we just wanted them to implement something off there. And then, we brought information in about how to leverage that with state and federal cost share programs. So this is kind of the idea. We did a lot actually in Pennsylvania, but how it kind of worked, this is what we learned in our Maryland program was, rather than us coming in and trying to get people together is, well, let's just find someone who's really enthusiastic about forest management out in that landscape. Maybe someone who's already done these kind of things, and let them get their neighbors on. They're the expert, we're from the outside area. So that's what we do. So we call that the keystone landowner. So this is the forest landscape, and you can kind of see all the individual parcels. We weren't trying to get everybody on board. We're just trying to get as many people as we could. So that person or keystone then would have a set amount of time to start talking to their neighbors, bring them together for a meeting to talk about forest management, about getting plans. And that's the idea. So we didn't hit everybody on that, but we got enough to get 820 acres. So, that's sizable. We can do stuff with that rather than working on these individual smaller parcels. So we got together, they got their own consultant that they felt comfortable with. It was up to them to choose their consultant and then decide what to do. So the consultant wrote all of the plans for that, which made it a little bit worthwhile for a consultant to write plans all in that set area. So we like to think it brought down the cost rather than consultant just writing one plan without action. So they got management plans. They're instantly eligible for EQIP in Pennsylvania, which is that funding for forest management. It's really the only program for funding forest management practices in Pennsylvania. So they're instantly eligible for that. And then they start implementing. We started working together. So kind of what we were hoping from this are more landowners with those plans. So I can't stress enough how important forest management plans are, because they kind of give you what your resources are on your land and recommendations to implement your goals. So it's not like a logger's telling you what to do. It's your goals and how you implement that forest management. We wanted more people not only having a plan, it's a tax plan, but some implementing the actual recommendations. And then what we were hoping for this are just healthier forested landscapes, because action is going on there. What we really didn't expect, that we kind of learned through this process, because this is all kind of a learning process for us, is, you know, we realized we had this built-in mentorship. So as people were starting to work together, especially with the Keystone landowners, is they're learning from each other, stuff that's going on their land. We actually had, there's one network we have in Pennsylvania, and they do a quarterly newsletter just within their network, which I thought was pretty cool. Self-sufficient organization of landowners, essentially what we have. So hopefully it's not, we have to keep pressing them on that. They've taken the first step. Hopefully they're starting to act on that. It's a high efficiency for conservation organizations as well. For instance, the Clearwater Conservancy up in State College, they helped us form a network there. But now it's easier for them to do their work across the landscape because they're familiar with landowners that they hadn't been familiar with before, people who want to do stuff. So it was more efficient for them to have that. And it's a powerful tool for getting landowners on that path. So even with our network, people who might not have been interested in the initial network are starting to join into these networks, beginning the process. So these were just a couple pictures. Some of the actions, a lot of the actions from our networks have been, you know, invasive plant control, and then forest stand improvement or timber stand improvement actions. But already that's probably the two dominant things that groups are doing, but they're already starting to see some work going in on there. So after that Pennsylvania experiment, we decided to bring it back to Maryland. We seasoned it. We got it going well. So we applied for more funding to continue this going in Pennsylvania, in the Pennsylvania Wilds area, but also out in Western Maryland. So it would be Frederick and Washington County, I guess the gateway to the Western. And actually, Bob is leading our effort there. So wherever we're taking it, it looks a little different depending how we do this. So our first network that we have going on right now, so the grant's going on, it's in Catoctin Mountain, and it really kind of revolves around communities up there, and specifically some types of plants. It's an orchid, isn't it, Bob? That it's kind of brought this together. Isn't there some sort of orchid? Well, there's a threatened species up there that landowners are interested in, and so we're kind of working with that. This is more of an education and outreach, because there's a lot of small parcels up there, a lot of 2-3 acre parcels, but you know, the ones in blue are these really large landscapes, all private land that we're bringing together. And this kind of backs up to state lands and also federal lands with the Catoctin Mountain Park. It looks a little different in Washington County. Rather than focusing on a wooded landscape, we're actually working along a stream. So Little Antietam Creek, and kind of the efforts going on there. So that's kind of our boundary. Rather than connected woodlands, it's more of who lives along the Little Antietam Creek. So this is another network we have that's revolved around that stream, which is it's a natural trout producing stream, which is special there in Maryland. So they're underway with their actions now. Trying to get through. So we've been doing this a while. Unfortunately, we have no dedicated funding, but we're very persistent asking for organizations for money to do this. So we've done it many times. Our last one, we actually had one specifically for Shenandoah Valley, Southern Shenandoah Valley, back with the U.S. Forest Service grant. And now we just applied for one now that we're waiting to hear back. So it would be in the Shenandoah Valley again. We're hoping to expand what we did in the Shenandoah Valley, continue in central Pennsylvania, bringing it to West Virginia, if there's any West Virginia landowners here. So we're focusing on the Cacapon, Lost River area, watershed areas, eastern shore of Maryland for this. And so we're waiting to hear back. It should be within the next couple of weeks, we hope, to hear about that. But we're also next week submitting another one to continue in Western Maryland. This would be Allegheny and Garrett counties, and expanded again through the Pennsylvania wild areas. So far we have 19 networks in those 3 states, 76 landowners, and 11,423 acres that have management plans, and we like to think are starting to be under management now. So just leveraging partnerships and leveraging funds that are out there. All right, any questions?